Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor, and I want to welcome you to my September edition of my Trumpology Report. I have a lot to share with you about what's going on in Trump's chart and in the United States chart. Let me start with Trump. I want to talk about the ascendant because this is a very important point in everybody's natal chart. This line right here represents the ascendant. The ascendant, or the rising sign, represents your physical body. It is your appearance. It's the way you present yourself. It's the me part of the chart. Okay, so whenever a planet sits on our ascendant, our attention is on ourselves. Now, you might say, is that good or bad? It just is, depending on the context, the situation. So let me tell you why I want to emphasize the ascendant in Trump's chart this month. First of all, Mercury, the planet of communication, correspondence, and transportation, has been retrograde, meaning it appears to be moving backwards in the heavens. It is not. But it appears that way. Things are confused when that happens. Our mouth and our minds don't work as a team. We say something one time and 5 minutes later we say the other. When Mercury is retrograde, it is not a good idea to begin a new project, but rather to tie up the loose ends of unfinished projects. Mercury is going to go direct, meaning it's going to come out of retrograde right smack dab on Trump's ascendant. So you might say, well, will that bring him more clarity of thought and self-expression? Once it comes out of the shadow of the retrograde, which it will on the 19th of the month, but it goes direct on the 5th of the month. And it sits here on his ascendant in that state in between retrograde and direct, so that there can be more personal confusion as well as expression. But the focus is on him. From his standpoint, it's all about me. Mars, the planet of action, of war, of passion, wherever it is what you fight with and fight for. Mars on Trump's ascendant from the 1st through the 4th. And then, of course, it's going to move through his first house. So we will still be seeing him fighting with and for himself. Mercury will move through the first house in September, so he will still be thinking about himself and talking about himself. And many people say, well, he already does that. Well, this is going to be more. In other words, we ain't seen nothing yet. I think I said that last month. There's more to this. Let me share with you. Venus, the planet of love, sits on his ascendant on the 18th. So he loves himself. He feels good about himself. We want Venus on our ascendant because it is a personal blessing very often. And so this can soften the approach. However, as we recall, the last eclipse that we had just on the 21st, a couple of weeks ago, sat on Trump's ascendant. When you have an eclipse on your ascendant, it's a new life for you. It's not a new chapter, it's a whole new book. And the emphasis is on me. So we've got the eclipse. We have Mars. We have Mercury. We have Venus, or I should say he has all this on his ascendant. The thing about an eclipse, a solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse, is that we feel the effects of an eclipse about a week before it occurs and until the next pair of eclipses come along. The next pair of eclipses will start January 31st, 2018. So this solar eclipse on Trump's ascendant is going to be lighting up him and bringing about the possibility of a totally new life for him. When is it strongest? November and December. So we're going to hold that thought. Now, he has Saturn, the planet of reality, still sitting on his south node and his moon. The south node can be the area of, it comes from the past, and the moon represents the past also. But it can be the area of drain or loss. The fourth house deals with home, family, and real estate. And so the issues that deal with his family and real estate and Russia, which of course that he was involved in purchasing property in Russia, are still ongoing. Now we have a full moon and a new moon. And depending on where these lunations fall in your birth chart, this is the area that is activated. Hang on here, I'm going to give you a complete picture. The full moon on September 6th falls in Trump's 7th house of partnership, whether it's personal, whether it's business, in a mundane chart. And for the president, we use enough of the mundane chart in the birth chart because he is the leader of the country. This deals with our open enemies. So traditionally, the 7th house deals with international affairs. It deals with the courts, the lower courts. It deals with war, lawyers, politics, marriages, of course. And it deals with any contracts that we sign. It also deals with the public. In Trump's chart, it squares his Uranus that is in the 10th house. And so from the public, from other people, from possibly the courts, his rebellion is triggered. The full moon is also I didn't write it in here because it gets too confusing, but it's quincunx his Pluto in the 12th house. Quincunx is an adjustment that you have to make. Pluto in the 12th is power and control behind the scenes. And so because of all the 7th house activity, which can be litigation, can be court dates, lawyers, everything I've just read, and open enemies. He has to adjust and let go of a certain amount of the control that he exerts behind the scenes. Okay, the new moon is going to be on September 20th. This falls in his 2nd house of money. You might say, well, that's good. It trines his midheaven, so the public image is still viable, very lovely public image. But it squares his sun and Uranus and his north node and his moon and south node. So it squares his public image and his domestic situation, and forms a T-cross that empties into the 8th house. Excuse me. The 8th house deals with taxes, financial loss, secrets. It deals with debts. It deals with the treasurer of an organization. And so this is other people's money. The 8th house is very secretive, very private. And so this is the emphasis, money, his money, and other people's money, with the new moon on the 20th. So that's Trump's chart. Now I want to share with you the United States chart, which I'll do with fewer pieces of paper. I can explain it more simply with one card. Let me get organized here. Excuse me. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Okay. In the United States chart, first of all, I want to go over the eclipses we've already had. The lunar eclipse, which was on the full moon in August, sat on our midheaven and our moon. The midheaven is the top of the chart. It's the cusp of the 10th house of leadership. The 10th house is our career, our public image, and it represents the president. It is the party in power, and it's our public image. The moon signals change very often, but it also, the moon is in Aquarius. It's a beautiful placement. I love Aquarius. And so our public image is triggered very strongly. And with the moon being also triggered, the president and his public image and his contribution to our public image is triggered. And often there is change with the moon. Now, the solar eclipse, which we've just had on the 21st, this is the new start, rules real estate, it rules land, and we, at the time of this recording, Texas and Louisiana, Texas especially, is flooded. And that's an understatement. And so our land is what we're talking about, our homes. Homes have been lost. Lives have been lost. The 4th house deals with real estate. It deals with the Democrats because it deals with the party out of power. It deals with all domestic affairs. It deals with the weather, with land, with farmers, with crops, with mines, and with seniors. And you can see that this has already been triggered with the horrific flooding that the people of Texas have experienced, and now it's on its way to Louisiana. Just what they needed, right? All right, let me share with you the United States chart. Mars, the planet of action and energy. Mercury, well, let me just do each planet. It's what you fight with and fight for. It's in the 4th house of our land. It's in the 4th house of the Democratic Party. So it's land, it's weather, it's crops, it's all domestic issues. It's our homes and our families. This can have great import in politics. Mercury, planet of communication, correspondence, and transportation, goes direct on the 5th in our 4th house. And Venus is there as well. And Venus adds love and blessings. And we've seen the humanitarian efforts, the love, neighbor to neighbor, stranger to stranger, who've become friend to friend in Texas, primarily the Houston area, but all of Texas. So let's talk now about the full moon and the new moon. The full moon is going to be on the 6th, and it sits right on the cusp or the edge of the 11th house. The cusp is the strongest point in the house. The 11th house rules Congress, congressmen, legislation, the treasury, city and county councils, our friends, and those who we have adopted as our friends. So we're talking about legislation and congressional hearings, among other things. I love the humanitarian part of it because we have seen that in Texas. The new moon on the 20th is going to be in the 5th house. And the 5th house in a mundane chart, let me put my glasses on so I can read every word of this. I don't leave anything out. It rules children, fun, sports, gambling, theaters, anything that's fun, the birth rate, congressional and public hearings, stadiums, teachers. So just looking at the congressional side of it, the public hearings, and of course everything that relates to this 5th house. That is what is triggered on the 20th. Now, this new moon sits on Neptune. Neptune rules alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, drugs. It rules make-believe. It rules, when we talk about theaters, it rules the movies, it rules acting. And we might find, because we don't know how this is going to manifest, it's a mundane chart, it means it affects millions and millions of people in our country. But there can be the washing away, the dissolving of that which is not working, and the implementation of a dream. Neptune is the dream. Now, it rules liquids, gases, it rules obfuscation, things that are hidden. It rules smoke. And so we may not get a really clear picture of what is going on in all fifth house matters. There can be a certain amount of wishful thinking involved. It's not fact, it's the dream. And this might be the time that we're able to implement the dream in that area, whatever the dream happens to be. And because it's a mundane chart, we have to talk about the fact that it is wishful thinking and make-believe. Obfuscation. I think obfuscation is a terrific word. So, dear friends, once again, we ain't seen nothing yet. In the video I did on Will Trump be impeached, that was the title of it. I changed it in the video because impeachment was what people were talking about at the time. It doesn't have to be impeachment. That new life for Trump can be any one of a number of different things. At the time I recorded that video, he had just finished saying, or shortly before that the job he had as president was harder than he thought it would be. That his old job was easier. And we know that he does enjoy getting out there and campaigning and being with the crowds, etc. So in November and December, when those August eclipses are at their peak, we will look and see what will happen. It will be clearer to us at that point. It's very difficult to predict what is going to happen in a mundane situation. In fact, it's difficult to predict what any one person is going to do, no matter what their station in life. I've given you the information as I have it, as I see it. And so stay tuned. There's a lot more coming in November and December. I'll be back with you in October with the October forecast and with our news cycles happening so quickly that you dare not blink or you've missed 3 of them. We'll just have to wait and see how this shakes out. So in the interim, if I have not done your chart and you would like me to do your forecast, just go to my website, MaxineTaylor.com. I would love to do that for you. And so until we meet again, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. And may the stars shine brightly on our world, on everyone in our world, and on the United States of America.